Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining today. My name is Mike Nassis. I'm a product marketing manager with Zerto. And with me, I also have Aaron Heigler. He's a lead solutions engineer with TierPoint. And together, we're going to talk you through your ransomware readiness strategy and how it can be improved with Zerto and TierPoint. Well, before we get into, the nitty-gritty of our solutions, let's level set this a little bit here and just kind of look at what happens when ransomware hits and really the cost of it. So these are just a few statistics here on the average. We're actually seeing the average cost of ransomware recovery to be close to $2 million. So when you factor all those, as an aggregate, all the factors in, you're looking at a pretty hefty sum. And on top of that, you're also looking at an average disruption period of an entire month after an attack. And unfortunately, with an attack, also with being down, of course, comes revenue loss and potentially even a period of time where your business might have to close. So these statistics, of course, they're not to scare anybody or anything like that. It's just something that is an unfortunate reality in today's world with ransomware. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's not a matter of if anymore. It's really a matter of when. So it's all about being prepared and being ready for an attack. And we'll talk about how our solutions can help with that. Now, one of the other unfortunate parts of a ransomware attack is really the unpredictable nature of it, right? So, with a potential, let's say a natural disaster, right, you probably are getting some heads up on when something might hit, right? With a ransomware attack, of course, you're most likely going to be blindsided. You don't know when it's coming, you don't know who's attacking, right? And as we mentioned in the previous slide, many organizations really regardless of industry, can be down for weeks or even months. So of course, the question then becomes, how do we minimize this? Is it possible to greatly reduce this, or is this unfortunately just something I have to live with, right? And this unpredictable nature of it, um, the unknown blast radius. So even after you get hit and you realize you've been hit with a ransomware attack, how do you know what's been compromised and what hasn't been? So there's lots of questions here, and thankfully we can actually assist with those. So with Zerto's industry-leading continuous data protection and near synchronous replication, you really have a huge defense against ransomware. So with near synchronous replication, you're really getting the best of both worlds, right? The best of both synchronous and asynchronous approaches. It's less costly than synchronous, and on top of that, there's going to be no performance impact like asynchronous with snapshots. And because we sit at the hypervisor level, we can be a fully software only solution that is totally independent of the underlying hardware and infrastructure, including storage. So that's really part of the reason why Zerto works so well across hypervisors, clouds, and different platforms. You really have the choice to do what's best for your organization while Zerto really effortlessly works in the background without any production impact. And remember that continuous work in the background is completely hands off for you. So there's no fiddling with backup windows or tweaking schedules or managing snapshot chains or anything like that. You're able to simply set it up, replicate, and it really stays always on to keep you always protected. Part of what makes Zerto's continuous data protection so powerful is really the unique journaling capabilities we have. So just being able to capture or a write or an IO doesn't necessarily mean you have true CDP, right? It has to be paired with this dynamic, hyper efficient journal. So our journal actually tracks every single change made in your application or on your server, and it logs these as checkpoints every 5 to 10 seconds, even if you have hundreds or thousands of servers. So this granularity is really important when it comes to recovery, specifically ransomware recovery. So whenever needed, you can actually rewind to an old checkpoint and easily recover from that exact point in time. What's more, we've also added in a detection component that detects potential anomalies or encryption in real time that can alert you when an attack is potentially happening, so you can really mitigate it and kind of squash it right in its infancy. So let's, for example, say a ransomware attack hits you at 10 a.m., right? And you, for whatever reason, weren't able to detect this. Even if that's the case, you can actually roll back to a checkpoint 5 or 10 seconds prior to that and essentially completely mitigate that infection. So that's really the power of the Zerto journal. And one of the really advantages that we have versus other vendors is really when it comes to recovery and specifically recovering complex enterprise apps. So Zerto really protects your workloads as cohesive logical entities. So that way you really avoid the inconsistent recovery of multi-VM applications where each VM is being spun up and restored to a different point in time. So with Zerto creating recovery points, when you're creating these recovery points, all of the VMs will share the same validated checkpoint with right order fidelity across all of them, regardless of which underlying hosts or data stores are being used. So when the application is recovered, every VM that makes up that application spins up from that same cross VM recovery point. And all of these come up as a whole in the boot order of your choice without any extra work on your part. So this, of course, ultimately allows you to protect and recover complex multi-VM applications together as one unit to that exact same point in time, which saves you a ton of resources when you're trying to reduce the amount of time dedicated to recovery. And of course, you already probably have enough on your mind after you got hit with a ransomware attack. The last thing you want to do, or the last thing you want to worry about, is these different recovery points. So Zerto has you covered with this as well. Now, one of the ways that I think is also often overlooked when it comes to being prepared and ready for a ransomware attack is actually the ability to test and really test whenever you'd like. So one of the ways that our orchestration and automation really comes alive is with our failover testing. So our customers can dramatically reduce the time it takes to do the testing as well as the complexity involved. And it really allows them to test often and test comprehensively. So one example here, this is a real customer example who used to have extensive runbooks and lengthy DR exercises. With Zerto, they were able to reduce that by 98% and take a complicated 3.5 day process down to only a couple of hours. This is just one example of many of customers who every day just realize a tremendous amount of value from our non-disruptive testing and the fast RTOs that these tests demonstrate and are very achievable for their business. And one of the best ways, of course, to get our point across here with Zerto, we went through all these slides about what we can do, our journal, all of our technology, right? What about Zerto in action after a ransomware attack? So this is a company called Tenkata. They produce, they manufacture fabrics and textiles and things like that for um, firefighters, military personnel, things like that. Before they had Zerto, they were hit with a ransomware attack, and they lost 12 hours of data, and the recovery time was 2 weeks. Of course, they're a very important company. You know, a lot of people rely on their fabrics, so they really can't afford that downtime. They ended up implementing Zerto, got hit with a second ransomware attack, but this time their data loss went from 12 hours to simply 10 seconds, and the recovery time went from 2 full weeks to just 10 minutes. So I think these numbers speak for themselves. This is a pretty amazing recovery story. And I had unfortunately limited time today, so I wasn't able to get to everything I would have liked to. Zerto really has lots of different use cases, but just to really sum up what we can do, we are able to resume operations at scale in minutes and really recover to a state seconds before a ransomware attack or really any disruption. We're also able to de-risk your recovery with instant non-disruptive testing, and simplify everything from protection and recovery and mobility of your apps, and do this all in a simple, easy, software-only manner, to protect really any type of environment. And before I hand it off to Aaron, I would just like to say that if you are interested and wanted to learn a little bit more about Zerto, we have tons of resources at your disposal. So please check these out, scan the QR codes, and learn more about how Zerto can help you be more ransomware ready for your business. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Aaron. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Michael, for those exciting updates on the new security features of Zerto 10, especially the real-time encryption detection. I am Aaron Heigler, a lead solution engineer at TierPoint focused on security. Thank you for joining us today. I want to take a few moments to briefly introduce you to TierPoint before we continue on our topic discussing ransomware readiness. TierPoint is a leading hybrid IT service provider with 40+ facilities across the United States, interconnected via a layer 2 multi-point mesh network with speeds up to 100 gigs per second. TierPoint also offers low latency connectivity to hyperscale cloud providers from multiple points of presence. With our geographic redundancy, your workloads can be placed in the facilities located on diverse power grids and weather patterns based on your risk profile. I've included a slide here to show the range of solutions that TierPoint offers businesses. Our portfolio includes cloud and co-location services. But today, let's focus on something crucial: ransomware readiness. If you're looking to boost your ransomware cyber resilience, our advisory and consulting teams are here to help. We can work with you to identify the best strategies and solutions to fortify your defenses. Our teams support a culture of continuous improvement and can assist you in creating robust cybersecurity frameworks and effective recovery measures. For instance, we recently helped a financial services firm enhance their cyber resilience by implementing advanced threat detection and response systems. What sets us apart is our consultative approach. We craft tailor-made solutions that perfectly align with your unique needs. We're ready to help you understand what it takes to succeed in building a strong and resilient cybersecurity posture. Data breaches are expensive. In the United States, the average cost of a data breach is $9.5 million. The cost includes paying the ransom, recovery activities, forensic activities, loss of revenue, and the possible reputation damage with your consumers and marketplace. Over 50% of organizations that have experienced a breach, if they're still in business, say these attacks and recovery activities result in increased costs in goods and services they must pass along to consumers. The intent of most data breaches are data destruction and holding your data for ransom. Ransomware typically accounts for over half of the malicious attacks. The objectives of most ransomware attacks are financial gain through ransomware and extortion. And this should come as no surprise: 82% of data breaches involve human error. One of the most probably well-known attacks in recent memory relates to in 2021 with the Colonial Pipeline breach, which was caused by a single compromised VPN credential. The company paid a ransom of roughly $4.4 million in Bitcoin, with the Justice Department being able to recover approximately half of that. This was the largest publicly disclosed cyber attack against critical infrastructure in the United States to date. The majority of the data compromised is customer personal identifiable information, employee PII, and intellectual property. The overall mean time to identify and contain a data breach was 277 days, or just over 9 months, and we've seen that figure remain relatively constant over the last few years. This is one of my favorite memes that really shows the struggle that many security teams face with managing their disparate security tools while trying to maintain security from an end user perspective. End user security training, should be an ongoing process, not an annual event that most of us go through, and they basically just tell you not to put your passwords on a sticky note, but empower your users to question things that seem to be out of place. And when talking about ransomware, the situation comes down to more than likely not if it happens, but when it happens. Attacks are costly. They create exposure and damage reputations. Attackers just don't lock up your data. They search your network for other opportunities to expose you. Hackers can delete whatever they want, even copies you might consider safe if your admin credentials have been compromised. Also, backups can be compromised and deleted as well, so that would delay your recovery and increase your recovery cost. One thing to consider is balancing your financial and human capital between defensive tools and resilience. This may differ based on your organization's tolerance for risk mitigation and/or acceptance. We feel the solution to ransomware readiness is focusing more on cyber resiliency to reduce the risk of the business disruption and damage from breaches. This resiliency must be engineered and practiced as the ultimate goal. Model key traits of different frameworks that are available. One of those being NIST IR 8374, ransomware risk management. And also maintain a balanced approach between defense and resilience that I mentioned on the previous slide, and align your modern data protection and recovery capabilities to take advantage of as-a-service benefits. While preventing ransomware attacks altogether is a great goal for protecting data, it's not always feasible. The demands on the business for agile service, innovative solutions, and always-on availability mean that relying on protection alone isn't enough. There is an imminent need for fast and reliable recovery that incorporates detection, protection, and recovery. There are two key components when recovering from a cybersecurity incident, those being business continuity and disaster recovery. And those two things are not exactly the same. DR is really a subset of the overall business continuity plan. And really two things you want to identify and plan for would be the RPO, how much data you can afford to lose, and the recovery time objective, how long you can afford to be down. And you should work with your business counterparts to determine which applications require that type of recovery and tier those accordingly. TierPoint partners with Zerto for delivery of our DRaaS services. Currently today we're protecting over 13,000 VMs with Zerto into our multi-tenant cloud as well as private cloud and public cloud targets. We have been Zerto's MSP of the year the last 4 years running. We're also a platinum tier partner in the top 5. This shows our proven track record and our experience in protecting workloads with Zerto. TierPoint DRaaS customers come in all shapes and sizes as well as varying levels of complexity. Over the years, we have helped a very large organization protect over 500 VMs from their diverse locations, targeting TierPoint provided hosted private cloud clusters. The clusters are chosen based on the characteristics defined by the customer. More recently, we have assisted a national packaging company by replicating their VM workloads temporarily into one of our multi-tenant clouds while they modernize their production infrastructure. This helped to mitigate risk and give them a peace of mind that their workloads are protected during their project. Both of these examples outline the level of customization that TierPoint can provide with a Zerto solution. It also shows our maturity in our DRaaS practice as well as flexibility in choosing a recovery environment. TierPoint services powered by Zerto include enterprise-class recovery on enterprise-class hardware, warm site solution with low RPO, RTO, SLA-backed recovery, as well as recovery into our private multi-tenant or public cloud targets. Our Zerto solution also offers real-time encryption detection that enables you to quickly recover from ransomware within minutes. Zerto also offers a cyber resilience vault that offers air-gapped, isolated recovery environment with immutable data copies. Also, the service can be a fully managed service or self-service, and TierPoint's consultants will work with you to identify the best approach for your environment. And with that, I'll bring it to a close. Thank you for all your time today and for listening to what Michael and I had to share about preparing your organization for when ransomware hits. Please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is available here, and for more details on our security and recovery services, we have also attached a fact sheet posted in the webinar portal. Thank you again and have a great day.